So today for baseball psychology, we're going to go over the it factor. So the it factor is pretty much a level and system of understanding how an athlete can really execute and do what they're supposed to do flawlessly and be able to show out when they're supposed to show out, which is a massive struggle, okay? Now, I mentioned the other day when Coach Kyle was in here talking about the pitchers and catchers, and we were talking about, hey, if you're willing to dive out here in August, September, at practice, at a tryout, if you're willing to give it all in then we know you'll give it all in when it comes time for a game. See how it works? It correlates immediately. A lot of athletes will not do this, okay, or don't even understand it. Some athletes, you may have felt it before where you had the opportunity and you're like, and you just slow down. What position in baseball is the worst at that? Outfield, thank you. Man, outfielders, y'all suck. And I don't mean this like the other way, and I'm not telling you that you suck. I'm just saying the mentality of an outfielder sucks. You see that? It's terrible. Why? Because you get a fly ball, right? That's at what degree angle? Maybe 55, 60, 70 degree angle, right? Which is up in the air for how long?
A long time.
5, 6, 7 seconds. And yet, you're going to attack it all in, and then you're going to hit the brakes because you're worried about what? It getting past you. Meanwhile, the angle, right, basic geometry, the angle of the ball is going to go like this. And where's it going to go?
Straight down.
Straight down. Okay? Meanwhile, if the other fielder is doing what they're supposed to do, where will they be?
Behind.
And therefore, you have totally wasted the opportunity and you lack thereof the intense capability of what we call the it factor. You lack that, and that stinks, okay? That's not where you want to be ever. So we're going to address that right now, okay? And it's not all positions. There's some players that almost guaranteed have the it factor, okay? Do you know what players that will be? No, just like what position in the field? Shortstop's usually very good. Shortstops usually are like that. Why? Usually it's one of your best players, but it's also one of your guys that has the leadership ability. That's a leadership thing. Somebody who wants to take control, someone who wants the ball, someone who wants it more than anybody else. The second it's the 7th inning and 2 outs, that's the same player that says, hit it to me. I want the ball. I need that from everybody. The it factor has to be a real thing. So we're going to start by going over just some of that, right? So shortstop's one. Usually, another player that's willing to go all in all the time, no matter what happens, is who? Catcher, right? Catcher. The catcher is usually willing to do it. That goes without saying that they don't really care about getting hurt. It's a fear thing, okay? They fear nothing, just about. And that's a good position to be in. So, there's other guys too. Usually the ace of a pitching staff. That's someone who carries the it factor. They don't care at all about anything. Hitters do not usually carry, depending on the position player that would be there, but it could be, not be. However, in position on the field is a little different. But a hitter would be, hey, right? Who's the hitter that goes like this, right? Pitch comes inside, and they get it inside, and they go like this. Or the guy that goes, see the it factor there? And what are we going to teach? Let's go. Right? We're teaching that. Teaching the it factor. That next level. First part. Confidence, not. Confidence, not cockiness. Now that's going to be an area to cross for some. Okay? But you have to be confident in what you do. Number one, we're going to talk about one of the words that Coach Kyle mentioned the other day. Starts with a T, Trust. Thank you. Trust. Trust. All right? Being cocky can ruin almost everything. Being confident is a big step in the right direction. If I'm confident, Elijah, right? Center fielder? Okay. See, I'm getting good, man. I'm starting to figure you guys out. Center fielder right here, I know for a fact if, let's say somebody is out in left field, let's say Grady's out in left field, and he's like, bro, I'm just out here chilling, man, and here it comes. 55, 60-degree angle, he goes all in. He has to be confident in his ability to get there. And he also has to be confident and trust Elijah to be where? All right. Do not be cocky and think that you're it. Okay? You are not it. The it factor is knowing that everyone else can be it for you too. And it's knowing that you have the ability to do so. Being confident is all about you knowing you have the ability and the right to do so, but you don't allow it to get to your head and say, I'm better than everybody else. Don't ever do that. That is a horrible place to live. And you'll notice that a lot of people will get away from you real quick. If you remember, I talked about bad breath syndrome at one point in baseball psychology class about a month ago now, probably. I mentioned how, you tough, you bad, all this junk you run in your mouth. And also with bad breath, you notice people start backing up. Okay? We call that bad breath syndrome. It's the same thing. When you're cocky, when you're too cocky, people don't like that. I had to change a player, which is with you guys. I'm sure you know who that is. I had to change his cockiness just a little bit. Okay? And I did that, and there was a shift. A big shift. And when it shifted, it was awesome. I saw that player go from here to here immediately. Okay? So, that's number one. Confidence, not cocky. Number two. Okay? Number two. And this is probably not something that you guys would really, really think about in any other way. But you need to be focused on what? Take a guess. What one? It's class, right? What's that? The game. We always got to be focused on the game. But the it factor for yourself, okay, we're talking about advancing, about getting best, huh? You got to be focused on the other person or your team. You have to be. That is a must-have. Okay? You have to be focused on everybody else. All the time. It's got to be a massive focus, because if it's not, you will not do the right thing for just yourself sometimes. But when someone else is relying on you, chances are you step up. Okay? Now I'm going to give you an example. You may be feeling like you don't want to go to school that day. Okay. You don't go to school, and all of a sudden you're like, man, this is whatever. But then your parents like, man, I'm really disappointed that you just don't want to go to school. Right? So then that disappointment settles in, and all of a sudden you're like, all right, I'll go. Have you ever had that happen before? Something like that, or a job where it's like, hey, man, my neighbors he's counting on me to cut his yard. I gotta cut the yard. You see how that changes that? But if it was just your yard, chances are you'd be like, man, I'll let that thing go to tomorrow. And then a hurricane comes, and then you're stuck mowing for 10 years. But still, you see how that works? If you're focused on the right areas and other people within here, you're going to get so much more out of your game. You will learn to not fail the next guy, okay? One of the coolest things to watch, okay? It was, I can't remember what team it was. We were talking about this, and we were I can't remember who I was having this conversation, but either which way, there was a guy who was up there, he was hitting, and all of a sudden, he swings, he fouls it off, and he's like, man, that was my pitch. He looks at the dugout and he says, hey, I'm going to get this one in play. I got this one. Okay? That's the jam. That changes everything. He's immediately taken the focus off of himself to go to his teammates, for them to put trust in him, which in then turn brings the it factor up a notch. Does it not? When you play for your pitcher and not for yourself, you will make the play. You know what the worst is? Who's my pitchers in here? Raise your hands. Like real true ace. If you think you're gonna be an ace this year, show me. I like that, man. Right? So varsity, JV. I see it all day long. That's a 1-2 punch. All right? But you know what's crazy, right? How do you feel if someone makes an error behind you? Not good? Say it again. You lose a little confidence. Look, one of the things that we'll have to overcome along the way is for them to not feel that way, but also for the guys in the field, you don't want them to lose their confidence, right? You need to carry that weight. You need to feel that. Do it for them. Do it for the next guy. Do it for your team. It makes the biggest difference in the world. So focus on your teammates. Focus on the other guys. Focus on them. All right, number three, which this is the one that I will talk about a player in here, and I will tell you a little story from summer ball. This one was good. Optimistic and what is optimism? All right. Sunshine and butterflies. All right. So optimistic, right? Positive, right? It's a good thing. It's a positive outlook, right? And that develops, what did we talk about in here before? What does that develop within everybody? Good chemistry. It's going to help with good chemistry. Now this here comes with a story. So being optimistic is all about how you have an error in the field, and then what are you going to do?
Shake it up.
Shake it off. How are you going to shake it off? Give me an example. Say it again. Get the negative. What you going to do? What's your nonverbal cue, or what's your verbal cue? What you going to do? Right, you make an error, right? I booted an error. Now what?
I shake my glove.
Shake your glove. Undo your glove. Take it off. Pat it. Put it back on. Right? That's right. That's right. Right here. Right here. Hey, that's me. My bad. Okay? That's exactly what you need to do every single time. What happens if you strike out? Right? You go here, you can do what? What else can you do? Gabe. Right? Let's say it louder.
Yeah.
Gabe. All right. Don't do that, right? But look, one of the most impressive things that anyone can watch is when a player, if they strike out, innings over, and they hustle off that field. Hustle off, go get your stuff. Right? Run it out just for a second. That running does release that feeling a little bit. Okay? That helps a lot. Right? But that's that posture stuff we're talking about too. So give me something else. What else? You can tell your teammates that you're going to get the next one, right? Being positive and having a good outlook can change everything inside the dugout. So, do you guys know what the local Cabell wood bat is? Have you ever seen that in Diamond Devils? It's the only event that they put on every year that they bring in, whatever, and then, it's usually a pretty fun event. Well, one of our teams ended up, having a crazy walk-off one game, didn't see it coming. Went the next day. They beat a really, really talented team, and then after that, the next game, they had to play against a team that was extremely talented once again, really good winning record. When they played them, one of the most unique things was that we were behind. And I watched one player every single time anything would happen. It was like the switch. It was just like every inning, if we couldn't scratch a guy or something would happen, it was like, hey, come on, we're good. Let's go. We're good. We got this. Let's get the next one. That optimism. You started seeing it. And every inning, it was almost like, hey, it was getting deeper into the game. You're running out of time, but you're also not out of time, right? You can still make something happen. You can make anything happen in baseball. Anything can happen. So he does that. It gets into a tied game. So next, we get up, and it's the bottom of the seventh, okay? Tied ball game. Winner goes on to the semifinals. We got our 1, 2, 3 hitters in this lineup. We're really, really good. We have a kid that, so it started off on the backside of the lineup. Kid hits a double. We got a kid that strikes out. Next one comes up. I call the sack bunt because I'm like, at this point in time, I'd rather move the runner over. And if it's a pass ball, an error, anything at all, I'd rather get the shot, right? Playing my odds at this point. It's the walk-off. Anything at all can win. And the closer you get, the pressure increases. Sure enough, my leadoff guy comes up. I'm like, all right, this kid's swinging a hot bat. He was like 3 for 4 on the day. They intentionally walked him. Not a bad move. But my number 2 hole guy was also 3 for 4. And I'm thinking, why don't you just walk the bases loaded at that point? That's what I would have done. Instead, that kid hits a missile of a shot, walk-off win. All right. Now, that's the same kid that was positive the whole time. The same kid. Never let it eat. But what do you think was going to happen if the baseball guys were just like, this guy right here, he's got a bad attitude, he is mad. What do you think his at-bat would look like? Done. Right? Ring him up, load him, guaranteed. Would have gone to the next inning, who knows what would have happened. But that's what happens. Being optimistic is extremely important in your environment. If you're going to be under an extreme amount of stress, that's going to come from home, it's going to come from classmates, it's going to come from a teacher, it'll come from some dummy in the locker room, it'll come from anyone. It could have been something stupid that happened on your way to the ball field. But you have to change your outlook on these things. You have to. That changes everything. In total combination, if you can be confident in yourself, confident in the players that you're playing with, if you can be focused on who?
Team.
Your team. Be focused on the next guy, right? Focus on him. And be positive, optimistic. I promise you, the it factor will all of a sudden go like this. Click. What happens is when there's a shadow of a doubt, when you get scared, when something is not confident enough, when you don't feel that trust, when you're not having a positive outlook, chances are Ryan's not going to dive in the outfield. That's what's going to happen. He's going to hit the brakes, and then Coach Hankey's going to go up to him and say, "Well, could you have gotten that right?" And you're going to tell me, now he's going to tell me yes. But then he may have said, well, I'm not 100% sure. Maybe. I don't think so. Right? That's going to be missing from the tank. You're not going to have that ability. That ability will be gone. And then all of a sudden, the confidence develops, and you're focused on making that play because, I can tell you right now, he knows what it feels like to be on the mound and someone have an error back behind him. He doesn't want to be that guy on the field anymore, right? He's focused on playing for his teammates. The game changes forever at that time. That's exactly how it works, step by step. The it factor. There's kids that I have cut from my tryouts immediately because they just did not dive. Immediately. I automatically will check certain kids out immediately just because they're not willing to dive. Then I have ones that are not only willing to dive, but they'll dive and be tore up from shoulders down to the knees. And they're like, "Coach, I got to get bandaged up, man. I'm bleeding everywhere." And I'm like, I love that. Because you have the it factor. You have that. I got a kid that I do lessons for today. He doesn't play here, doesn't go here. He plays actually Somerville High School, and he came to try out for me, and I cut him. And when he came back to the lesson, he was like, "I can't believe you guys cut me." And I was like, "This is the conversation, right? So go ahead, ask. Why? Here's your feedback. Why? Why would I cut?" And he said, he was like, I'm assuming something's just off. And I said, yeah, it's called the it factor. That's all it was. He said, you threw well. You hit the ball pretty decent. But if you're not willing to give me your all and you're going to let 3 balls just drop in front of you, hit the brakes, you can't do it. Cannot do it. I said, that right there is not the message that we're going to send. And so I can't have it. Until we can develop this, that's when we'll get you back out. All right. Does anyone have any questions about the it factor? No? Okay.